Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. Mishmash Monday. Hope you had a nice weekend. I did a lot this weekend. We went to movies, and then we went out to the steam engine show, and then out to eat. Oh yeah, that's right. I was stuck inside like you. I've been inside now for 40 days. Is it 40 days straight? And climbing the wall a little bit. Climbing the wall, I'll admit it. Even though I like to, I don't find it as much of a hardship, but it is can get a little depressing. You could see, can you see our mascot over there? Oh yeah, he's ready. Anyway, a couple things to talk about today because it is a Mishmash Monday. First of all, the Birdhouse Challenge, going good. We got about 10 entries already, but you got 2 weeks to do it. And don't wait till last minute, and I'm telling you, trust me on this one, you will have a great time building that birdhouse. A lot of guys that when they sent in their entry, they said, man, I had such a good time doing this. I never did it before, whatever. And it's a lot of fun. You get down there, you forget about what's going on. You go down, get started on it. You'll have a good time. Trust me. I'm trying to do a little bit of cleanup. It's hard. I don't know what, when you're young, you got a ton of energy, but no time. When you get older, you get a ton of time, but no energy. That's where I am now. I'm just like, you got to really kind of get a flame under your butt to get going. So, let me show you one thing I found years ago that I thought was pretty cool. I guess about a year or two ago, I'm doing my walks and I see this nice old baseball bat in the garbage. Look, it's in nice shape, And I'm looking at it and I say, I grab it. I grab everything, I have an affection for old-fashioned wooden baseball bats, When we were kids, this was like, you would use them until you wore them out. Then the aluminum ones came out. Remember the aluminum ones? And that was a game changer. You always wanted to use the aluminum. Anyway, so I grab it, and I happen to look at it over here, and I say, oh, good, look, it's a Louisville Slugger. That's great because they're a nice bat, not cracked or anything. And then I looked over here, and I said, trademark, and I said, what is George Babe Ruth? No! I was like, holy cow, this is a nice bat. Are you kidding me right now? You know what, these things, I went on eBay real quick, and these things were going for big money. So I said, wow, that's a good find, isn't it? So keep an eye out. Even some of the old, you'd be surprised what some of these bats go for. But it's just something, you won't see these around too much anymore because, I don't know, it's not like it was. These are going to be scarce. So keep an eye out and buy them up when you see them. Now, next up, I was upstairs looking in the closet, and I found these Nightsticks. These were my grandfather's. He worked for the New York City Police Department as a police officer. In fact, he was the first sergeant in a unit called ESU, or what's Emergency Service Unit. Now, that's the equivalent of SWAT today. And when he was younger, he would walk a beat like every other cop years ago, and they had to carry these batons, and we used to call them nightsticks. And the funny thing is, because nightsticks were actually longer than the day sticks, and that's where they got the name. During the day, they would carry a shortened version, about half the size of this, and these are considered nightsticks. These are about 26 inches long. They're made of a hardwood, and you could see the beadings on here. Because, people, they'd rap on things. They'd rap on a fence or something. And years ago, police were very respected, and they had to be respected. And, unlike today where they might throw water on you, years ago, if a police officer told you to leave the area, and he came back 5 minutes later and you're still there, you would be in trouble, and he would use his nightstick. But today it's a whole different story, where there's rules and regulations that go away from using it. But you could see the wear and bangs on these sticks. But interestingly enough, these were issued to the officers, and you could see here they had serial numbers on the sticks themselves that would designate, I guess, that it was your stick or whatever. Once they issued it to you, it was still their property, but you were kind of holding on to it. So pretty interesting. These are nightsticks, and then the shorter ones were considered the day sticks, or billy clubs, what we used to call them. Now, many years ago, this would be considered a day stick, or a billy club, as I used to call them. And this one I always loved, because this one, it was in such nice shape, and my grandfather had. I always wanted this as a kid. And you can see here, it's so nicely made in the finish and the fit on this. And you can see it's got its own serial number tag on here. And what's interesting is that these were carried, like I said, during the day. They had a lanyard hole, and they would swing them around and things like that, or put them in the pocket. Now, the top here, you can see there's a little plug. I don't know if there's any metal in there, because years ago they used to put metal inside the top of the club to make it heavier and more effective. But I don't know if this one either has it or whatever, but you could definitely see there's something up there, and it does feel like it's a little weighted towards the tip. So what I wanted to do today is, in memory of my grandfather, I wanted to make one that was, kind of close to this, and, make a newer version, more or less. And I have some wood back there, so let's give it a shot, see what we can do with this. It should be a fun project for today. Now, about 10 years ago, I bought this piece of wood. It's a piece of hormigo. It's a South American wood, and it comes in usually a couple different types. Hormigo negro, which this is, it's a darker wood. And there's also a hormigo rojo, which is a kind of an orangey wood, a little bit lighter. And what's interesting about this wood is it's a very hard wood, very dense wood, a beautiful wood. And I bought it for a project to do for my sister years ago, and I had this sitting around. I figured maybe this would be a good one to use for this particular project. And it's still got the wax coating on it that they come in from when you buy it to stop it from shrinking or moving or warping. And like I said, since it's 10 years old, I'm sure it's pretty much dry by now. So let's see what we can do with this piece of wood here. Now we cut our wood to length, but to find the center of the wood, which you have to do now to put it in the lathe, is you take what's called a center finder. And what you do is you put the center finder on here, and you run your pencil across like this, okay? Like that in the middle. Then you flip it 180 degrees and do it again. And the reason you do that is because the thickness of your lead of a pencil, of the graphite, will not allow you to get exact into the middle unless you do it that way. Now, if you notice here, when I did that, you see what we did now? And we have a double line there. You see that? Now with that double line, we're going to put a mark right in the middle of them of that X, and that'll give us the perfect center. Now we want to weight the tip just like the original. So you can see the setup here. We're using the base of the drill press, and we're going to drill a hole at the end there to later accept a metal rod. Now we drill that hole. This is the rod that we're going to put in there. So this is the kind of fit you want. Do you see that? And then when you pull it out, listen. That's the kind of fit you want. Okay, here's the setup in the lathe. And you can see we have the hole on this side. That's going to be the top. And then we're going to taper it down and then make the ball over here. And we have it setting between centers. Now that's a live center on this side, which means it'll spin. And now this is in here really good and tight. And we got to make sure that we're going to use the ventilation and the dust mask, because some of the South American wood can really irritate your lungs. So you got to be very careful when turning this. We have a little bit of a knot here. Hopefully that won't be a problem. Let's get to it. Okay, we ran into a problem. Remember I told you that knot was there? Well, that knot is not going to cooperate. You can see how deep that went there. That's a knot is where the branch comes out of the tree. So there's no way we can make this one, but we can make another billy club. They used to come in all different sizes. Hopefully we can salvage the top of this and make a smaller one that they used to use. And so we're going to have to get rid of this whole area up here. Let's see if we can, what we can make out of it now. We are right off the lathe, and you can see here this is all done on a lathe. Didn't have to do anything off the lathe. You could see the beautiful finish we have. Now we'll just fill this in with that steel rod. We'll part this off. And the reason you check it before you do anything is because you can always mount this back in the lathe if you want to make any changes. But I'm very happy with the shape, the feel of the way this looks. Now I'm going to cut off the bottom, put the metal in the top, and we'll see if we can attach some kind of lanyard. Look at all the chips from the small project. You know, I just remember where I got that Harmingo from. I remember I bought it years ago. My sister picked up an old school bell from Elephant's Trunk Flea Market, and she asked me if I could build something for her to mount it. And I built this little thing, and I still have that video, so I'm going to stick it here and check it out. This was why I bought that piece of exotic wood to make the handle for this bell. School bell test. Now, you know my favorite part. Remember what the Billy Club looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Now, because I had to shorten this up a little bit, you know, they had a lanyard hole in a lot of them in halfway through the top here. But because, like I said, I had to shorten it up, I wanted to put the lanyard in the bottom. And how I did it, I made a plug out of Delrin. Can you see that there? And it's screwed in, so there's a plug with two holes on each side that you can always change the lanyard if you want. Just unscrew that, the plug comes out. Thought that was pretty novel. And on the front here, we have the weight that I didn't do anything to hide it. I could have put a plug in there, but you know, something just to see where it is. This has such a nice feel to it, and just a nice size. Here's it compared to the original. Like I said, we had to cut off that bit but they came in all different sizes back then. And like I said, this one is pretty interesting. This is obviously that's the original color of the wood, and you can see what it looks like there. It's a stiff grained, thick grained wood, but very hard, very dense, and you could see when I was turning it down. But I really enjoyed this project. This was, you know, sometimes you get into the shop, you feel like doing something, and that's when you got to do it. Okay, so in closing, we had a little fun down the shop today. Did something to keep my mind off the craziness, and I hope you do the same. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care now. Bye-bye.